In a dusty Atlanta suburb under a blistering 90-degree sun, Special Agent Khalil Brooks, a black FBI vet in a crisp suit, flashed his badge at a routine traffic stop, expecting respect. Officer Wade Cutler, a smirking white cop with a buzz cut, spat on it, snarled a slur, and cuffed him for impersonating an officer. 2 minutes later, Cutler's in cuffs, radio crackling as backup turned on him. This petty win'll burn. Khalil's life down. What flipped the cops so fast? Before we dive in, let me know where you're watching from, and if you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe, because tomorrow's wild episode is one you can't miss. Khalil Brooks stood in the buzzing precinct, arms crossed, his polished loafers tapping the linoleum, as Officer Wade Cutler got shoved into booking, wrists still red from the cuffs Khalil had seen snap on him just hours ago, under that scorching Atlanta sun. The air stank of stale coffee and sweat, but Khalil's chest swelled a notch watching Cutler's buzz-cut bob as a burly sergeant fingerprinted him, ink smudging those meaty hands that had dared to spit on his badge. Backup had rolled in fast after the stop, radios crackling with confusion, then clarity confirming Khalil's FBI creds in a heartbeat, leaving Cutler to eat his own slurs. Suspension papers hit the desk with a slap, and Khalil let himself think it was over. A clean win against a racist punk who'd underestimated him. He adjusted his tie, already mentally shifting gears back to the drug ring case he'd been chasing for 6 months. A network of dealers slinging poison through Georgia's veins. His phone buzzed, a text from his partner. "Good job, man. See? You at HQ." And Khalil smirked, stepping toward the exit, the precinct's fluorescent hum fading behind him. Cutler's glare burned into his back, but Khalil didn't flinch, not yet tasting the venom brewing in that cop's skull. Outside, the night draped Atlanta in a sticky 80-degree blanket. Streetlights flickering over cracked sidewalks as Khalil drove his unmarked sedan home, a modest 2-bedroom apartment tucked in a quiet black neighborhood 10 miles from downtown. He parked, climbed the stairs, and sank into his couch, the day's adrenaline finally ebbing as he flipped on the TV, local news droning about traffic jams. That's when the first brick crashed through his window, glass exploding across the hardwood, shards glinting like jagged teeth in the lamplight. Khalil bolted upright, heart slamming, grabbing his Glock from the coffee table as a second brick thudded against the wall, this one painted with a slur so vile it twisted his gut. He ducked low, peering through the blinds, and saw shadows scattering across the lawn, 3, maybe 4 figures in hoodies, their laughter cutting the humid air like razors. Another crash, this time the kitchen window, and he smelled gasoline, a rag-stuffed bottle rolling in, flames licking up before he could blink. He stomped it out, coughing as smoke stung his eyes, then sprinted to the door, weapon raised. But the cowards were already peeling away in a pickup, tires squealing. Back inside, he found the walls tagged, red spray paint screaming, "Coon," and fed pig in sloppy loops, the hate so thick it choked the room. His phone was in his hand, dialing 911, then the FBI field office. Voice steady despite the pulse hammering his temples, reporting the attack as neighbors peeked from curtains, their silhouettes tense but silent. He pieced it together fast. Cutler's snarl at the precinct flashing in his mind. That cop's suspension not a muzzle but a match, lighting a fuse to something uglier. The hate group wasn't random, no way. Not with the timing. Not with Cutler's connections whispered about in cop bars Khalil had scoped out undercover. Sirens wailed in the distance, too slow, and he paced, kicking glass, knowing this was just the opening shot. He called his unit again, demanding a perimeter sweep. But the voice on the line, Agent Harris, hesitated. "We're stretched thin, Brooks. Might take a minute." Khalil froze, the words sinking in like lead, his own team dragging their feet. When his home was a war zone, he stared at the wreckage, the flames' scorch marks blackening his counter, and realized Cutler's reach was longer than he'd guessed, curling into places Khalil thought were safe. What the hell was stalling? Harrison, how deep did this snake's poison run? Khalil didn't sleep that night. Not with the wind whistling through broken panes, carrying the echo of those laughs. He swept up glass until his hands bled, tiny cuts stinging as he hauled trash bags to the curb, the moon hanging low like a witness too scared to speak. His apartment, his sanctuary, was a battlefield now, every crack in the drywall a testament to Cutler's grudge, a grudge that didn't die with a suspension but grew claws and teeth. He'd seen hate before, 15 years in the bureau chasing cartels and clansmen, but this felt personal, a blade aimed at his spine. The precinct had been a stage, Cutler's arrest a scene Khalil thought he'd directed, but now he saw the script flipping, the cop playing puppet master from a holding cell. He checked his Glock, reloaded it. The click loud in the silence, then pulled up Cutler's file on his laptop, the screen's glow casting shadows on his clenched jaw. Domestic disturbance calls, a bar fight swept under the rug. Nothing concrete, but enough smoke to hint at fire. Ties to fringe groups the FBI had flagged but never pinned. Khalil's gut churned, knowing Cutler hadn't acted alone, not with bricks and Molotovs raining down hours after booking. He scrolled X posts, anonymous accounts already buzzing with FBI thug rants, some tagging his name, others his address, a digital breadcrumb trail straight to his door. The pickup's plates flashed in his memory, partial Georgia tags, but enough to run when dawn broke. He leaned back, the couch springs groaning, and pictured Cutler's smirk, that pale face plotting behind bars, whispering to someone, anyone, who'd carry his hate into the night. The neighbors' lights flicked off one by one, leaving Khalil alone with the wreckage, the slur on his wall glowing like a neon sign in his skull. He'd won at the precinct, sure, watched Cutler's badge get yanked, but this wasn't victory. This was war declared, a war he hadn't signed up for but couldn't dodge. His phone buzzed again, a precinct update. Cutler's suspension holding, no bail yet, but the words felt hollow, a paper shield against the storm brewing. He stepped outside, the air thick with humidity and menace, and scanned the street, shadows, stretching long and jagged under flickering lamps. Footsteps crunched somewhere, faint, then gone, and he gripped his gun tighter, knowing the hate group wasn't done, not by a mile. Harris's delay gnawed at him, a splinter under his nail. The FBI's slow roll when he needed them most, a crack in the armor he'd trusted. He'd built his career on busting scum like Cutler, but now scum was busting back, and his own side was blinking. The apartment loomed behind him, a shattered husk, and he swore under his breath, vowing to nail Cutler, to turn this ambush into his ammo. But as he stood there, the night pressing in, he couldn't shake the question. If Harris was stalling, who else was in Cutler's pocket, and how long before the next brick fell? Morning crept in, grey and heavy, the sun barely cutting through smog, as Khalil taped cardboard over the windows, each slap of duct tape a drumbeat in his skull. He brewed coffee, the machine gurgling like a dying engine, and downed it black, the bitterness matching his mood. His phone lit up, a neighbor texting, "Saw them leave red truck, 3 guys, masks," and Khalil nodded to himself, filing it away, a thread to pull when he got breathing room. He called the landlord, voice clipped, reporting the damage, then suited up, badge clipped to his belt, ready to head to HQ and push the drug case to reclaim some normalcy. But normalcy was a ghost now, chased off by Cutler's vendetta. A vendetta that had turned a traffic stop into a Molotov cocktail through his life. He locked the door, the bolt clicking like a gunshot, and stepped into the day, the graffiti's red glare still burning in his peripheral vision. The precinct win felt like a lifetime ago, Cutler's cuffs a fleeting high before this low, this gut punch of hate crashing into his world. He drove off, eyes flicking to the rear view, half expecting that pickup to tail him, knowing this was round 1, and Cutler was already swinging for round 2. Khalil Brooks crouched amid the wreckage of his apartment, the morning sun slicing through taped-up cardboard, casting jagged shadows on the hardwood as he swept glass into a dustpan, each clink a reminder of last night's hate-fueled barrage. His hands, still raw from cuts, gripped a broom as he dialed Mrs. Jenkins next door, her voice trembling but firm. "I saw them, Khalil. Red truck, hoods, laughing like devils." He nodded, jaw tight, and stepped outside, the humid Atlanta, hair sticking to his skin, 90 degrees by 8 a.m., the neighborhood stirring with unease. He knocked on doors, rallying folks, Mr. Tate with his cane, young Aisha wiping sleep from her eyes, all black families who'd lived this block for decades, their porches sagging but proud. "We can't let this stand," Khalil said, Voice, low, steady, his FBI badge a quiet weight in his pocket, not flashed but felt. They huddled 10 strong on Mrs. Jenkins' stoop, drafting complaints, fingers tapping phones, calling the precinct, the mayor's office, even the local news, their chorus rising like a tide. By noon, squad cars rolled up, slower than Khalil liked, but there, scoping the graffiti, the scorch marks, taking statements as the hate group's pickup vanished into rumors, their attack fizzling under the glare of a united front. Cutler's, suspension stuck, no word of bail. And Khalil let a thin smile crease his face, standing on his busted lawn as neighbors clapped his back, Aisha snapping a pic. Our own hero. He drove to FBI headquarters downtown, the 15-mile trek a blur. His sedan humming past strip malls and oak-lined streets, mind already on the drug ring case. A web of dealers he'd tracked from Savannah to Macon, their stash houses pinned on his office map. He strode into the bullpen, suit crisp despite the chaos, briefing his team. Agent Harris scribbling notes, the room buzzing with purpose. 6 months of intel ready to crack wide open. He felt it, that flicker of triumph, the precinct win holding, the hate group scattering, his life snapping back into focus. Then his phone pinged, a text from an unknown number, just a link, and he clicked it, curiosity overriding caution. The screen flared with grainy footage, him at the traffic stop but twisted, edited, his arm swinging at Cutler, a punch that never happened, the cop's spit and slur cut out, replaced by Khalil's voice dubbed, snarling threats. His stomach dropped, ice flooding his veins as the video's title blazed, FBI thug attacks hero cop, already at 50,000 views, comments piling up, typical, lock him up, race card player. He refreshed, 100,000 now, X erupting with hashtags, as Khalil the Killer trending, his name a lightning rod for every bigot with a keyboard. He stormed to Harris, shoving the phone under his nose. This is bullshit, you see this? Harris squinted, lips tight, and muttered, We'll look into it, but his tone was off, cagey. Khalil paced, the bullpen's hum fading as eyes flicked his way, whispers curling like smoke. He traced the upload, some burner account, but the timing screamed Cutler, that cop's revenge scaling from bricks to a digital lynching, turning public opinion into a noose. His desk phone rang, the boss, special agent in charge Monroe, voice gravelly, Brooks, step into my office. Khalil marched in, chest pounding, expecting backup, but Monroe leaned back, gray eyes cold. This video's a problem, you're on leave, effective now till we sort it. Khalil blinked, words catching in his throat. Sir, it's fake, I can prove it. But Monroe waved him off. Optics, Brooks, we can't touch this yet. Leave. Not fired, but a gut punch all the same. His own agency doubting him, the badge he'd bled for now a question mark. He stood, fists balled, staring at Monroe's desk, a photo of the man's white kids mocking him, and wondered how deep Cutler's poison had spread. The drive home was a haze, traffic lights bleeding red through the windshield as Khalil gripped the wheel, knuckles whitening, the video replaying in his skull, each fake punch a fresh wound. He parked, stormed upstairs, and slammed his laptop, open, fingers flying as he dug into the upload's metadata, chasing a ghost through encrypted servers, his training kicking in despite the rage. 50 calls flooded his voicemail, reporters, trolls, one from Aisha. Khalil, what's happening? He didn't answer. Couldn't. Not with his name plastered across screens, a villain in a story he didn't write. The neighbors' support felt distant now, their complaints drowned by the viral roar, and he pictured Cutler in his cell, smirking, knowing this hit harder than any brick, cutting Khalil off from his team, his purpose. He scrolled X again. Million views, bot accounts amplifying the lie, FBI covers for their own. Another thug with a badge, the hate so thick he could taste it, bitter as the coffee he'd downed at dawn. Harris texted, We're pulling logs, hang tight. But the words rang hollow, the FBI's gears grinding too slow when his life was already aflame. He slammed the laptop shut, the crack echoing in the trashed apartment, and stood, pacing, the graffiti's red scars glaring from the walls, a mirror to the digital bloodbath outside. Cutler hadn't just thrown bricks, he'd thrown a match into the tinderbox of America's bias, and Khalil was burning, His win at the precinct, his stand with the neighbors, all ash under this lie. He grabbed his Glock, checked the clip, the weight grounding him as he replayed Monroe's words, optics. A coward's excuse when the truth was right there, edited out of frame. He'd fought cartels, stared down killers, but this was a beast he couldn't shoot. A system tilting against him, and his own boss wouldn't swing back. The apartment buzzed with silence, the city's pulse beyond the broken windows mocking his isolation, and he sank onto the couch, staring at the ceiling, cracks spidering like the mess he was in. Who'd doctored that video, and how had Cutler pulled it off from a cell? He needed proof, needed to flip this, but the leave order chained his hands, left him dangling as the mob bayed for his head. His phone buzzed again, a news alert, FBI agent suspended amid assault claims, and he laughed, a harsh, hollow sound, knowing this was Cutler's checkmate, for now. All right, if you're raging at how fast Khalil's world flipped, drop a #1 in the comments if you think the FBI should have had his back, not benched him. Smash that like button if you're sick of seeing lies twist the truth, and subscribe because this story's only getting wilder. Imagine your name dragged through the mud like that. What would you do? Comment #2 if you'd fight, or #3 if you'd run, and let's see where you stand. Now picture this. Who's pulling Cutler's strings to smear Khalil this hard, and what's their next move when he's already down? Khalil Brooks sat hunched over his laptop in the dim glow of his trashed Atlanta apartment, the 90-degree heat seeping through the cardboard-patched windows, sweat beading on his forehead as he chased the viral video's ghost. The slur-stained walls loomed around him, a jagged frame to his focus, fingers hammering keys, tracing the upload's IP through layers of digital muck, his 15 years of FBI training cutting through the noise. The burner account led to a cheap hosting site, then a coffee shop Wi-Fi 10 miles west. A thread he tugged until it snagged on a name, Tyler Reese, Cutler's cousin, a scrawny IT dropout with a rap sheet for petty hacks. Khalil's pulse kicked up, the pieces clicking, Cutler's smirk at the precinct flashing in his mind, that cop's reach stretching beyond bars to this punk. He grabbed his Glock, badge and keys, the weight of each steadying him as he bolted. To his sedan, tires chewing asphalt through Atlanta's sprawl past crumbling gas stations and kudzu-choked lots. Tyler's squat duplex sat off a dirt road, blinds drawn, a rusted pickup out front, and Khalil parked a block away, stalking up under dusk's purple haze, the air thick with cicadas and menace. He pounded the door, wood rattling, and Tyler cracked it, all twitchy eyes and greasy hair, stammering, "Who are you?" Khalil flashed his badge, voice steel, "FBI, we talk now," shoving past into a den reeking of stale beer and burnt circuits, monitors flickering with code. Tyler shrank, palms up, but Khalil loomed. "That video, you faked it, spill it." The kid balked, then caved under Khalil's glare, words tumbling. "Wade paid me $500, said you deserved it. I just edited the stop, man. I didn't mean nothing." Khalil recorded it, phone out, every syllable trapped. Tyler's confession, a lifeline to claw back his name. He sent it to Harris. "Proof, get this to Monroe," then drove straight to HQ, the 15-mile haul a tightrope of hope, the city's lights smearing past like a taunt. By midnight, the video hit the FBI server, time-stamped, legit, and Monroe called, gruff but clipped, "You're back, Brooks. Briefing at 0800. Khalil exhaled, fist unclenching, the leave order lifting like a noose slipping free. His badge gleaming again as he crashed on his couch, the first sleep in days unbroken by bricks or lies. Morning broke, sharp and humid, the sun blasting 95 degrees, as Khalil suited up, tie knotted, stepping into HQ at 7:55, the bullpen alive with coffee steam and chatter. He strode to the briefing room, whiteboard scrawled with the drug rings web, his team nodding as he took the lead, voice steady. "Reese gave us Cutler's play. Video's dead. We're back on the dealers." Harris clapped his shoulder. "Good to have you, man." And Khalil felt the rhythm return, 6 months of intel clicking into place, stash house raids planned for dawn. He pointed at the map, Macon circled. "We hit here first," adrenaline pumping as the room locked, in his world righting itself after the viral storm. Then the door banged open, 2 uniforms bursting in, precinct cops, not feds, one barking, "Khalil Brooks, hands up, you're under arrest." The room froze, pens dropping, Harris gaping as Khalil's arms were yanked back, cuffs biting his wrists, the cold metal a cruel echo of Cutler's stop. The charge hit like a slap. Harassment, intimidation of a civilian, Tyler's name tangled in it, a complaint filed that morning, sworn out by a Judge Hargrove, a grey-haired crony with a Confederate flag tie pin Khalil had seen at COP, fundraisers. He twisted, "This is garbage, check the tape." But the cops hauled him out, past his team's stunned faces, down the elevator, into a squad car stinking of bleach and regret. The precinct loomed, 10 minutes away, and they dumped him in a holding room. Concrete walls closing in as the charge sheet landed, Hargrove's signature a flourish of ink and power. Khalil paced, 3 steps each way, the cuffs off but the yay. Sting lingering, knowing Cutler's prints were all over this, that cop's suspension a pause, not a loss. The door creaked, a public defender slipping in. Court in an hour, but Khalil waved her off. "I've got this," mind racing to flip it, to use Tyler's tape against this sham. The hearing came fast, a cramped courtroom, Hargrove perched, high gavel poised, Tyler on the stand, eyes darting, mumbling, "He threatened me, scared me straight." A lie so thin Khalil snorted. He stood. "Your Honor, I've got proof, recorded consent," pulling his phone, but Hargrove cut him. "Not admissible, sit down." Voice dripping venom, the fix-in before Khalil walked in. The gavel cracked, bail set at 20,000, a fortune he couldn't touch on leave pay, and he was shoved back to holding. The clang of bars a gut punch. Then he saw him, Cutler in the gallery, badge glinting. Suspension lifted, smirking through the glass like a shark scenting blood, free while Khalil rotted. The cell was a 6x8 box, fluorescent buzz overhead, the air stale with piss and despair as Khalil sat on the cot, elbows on knees, replaying it all. The video win snatched by this rigged game. Tyler's flip wasn't random. Cutler's cash or threats turning the kid, and Hargrove's courtroom was a stage, the judge a puppet master pulling strings Khalil couldn't reach. He'd cleared his name, got back in the fight, only to land. Here the system baring its teeth. Racism not just in slurs but in gavels, in cuffs, in a cop's gloat from the crowd. His team's faces flashed. Harris's shock, the briefing cut short, and he wondered who'd leaked his return, who'd fed. Cutler, the timing to strike. The tape was gold, proof of his truth, but Hargrove's dismissal buried it, a legal knife in his ribs, and Cutler's badge back on meant the cop had juice, more than a suspended grunt should wield. Khalil traced the cot's steel edge, mind. Churning, plotting his next move, knowing bail was a pipe dream without cash or a Fed override. He'd busted dealers with less evidence than this sham, but here he was, the prey, the system's boot on his neck, heavier than any brick through his window. Cutler's smirk burned in his skull, that cop free, untouchable, while Khalil's badge sat useless at home, his career teetering on Hargrove's whim. The guard rapped the bars. Lights out, and darkness swallowed the cell, leaving Khalil, with the hum of his own rage, a vow forming in the black to turn this cage into Cutler's coffin. But as the hours crawled, the weight settled. This wasn't just Cutler, it was bigger, a machine grinding him down, and he didn't know how. High it climbed. Khalil Brooks sat on the cell's cold cot, the fluorescent buzz drilling into his skull as the guard's boots clomped past, a rhythm he'd timed for hours in the stale Atlanta precinct. His wrists ached from the cuffs, now off, but the sting of Judge Hargrove's gavel lingered, $20,000 of bail mocking him from a bank account he couldn't touch. Cutler's smirk in the courtroom replayed, a taunt that lit a fire under Khalil's calm, 15 years of FBI grit kicking in. The guard, a lanky kid with a lazy swagger, jangled keys too close, and Khalil saw it, his shot. He faked a cough, doubling over, rasping, "Water, man, I'm choking," and the kid hesitated, then stepped in, keys dangling. Khalil lunged, swift and silent, locking the guard's arm, twisting until the keys dropped with a clink, then shoving him into the cot, out cold before he could yell. He snatched the ring, unlocked the cell and slipped into the hall, pulse hammering as he ducked past flickering cameras, a shadow in the precinct's gut. The back exit loomed, a rusted door by the dumpster, and he pried it open. Humid night. Air hitting him like a slap, 90 degrees even at midnight. He bolted, legs pumping, Weaving through alleys 10 blocks from the jail, Atlanta's underbelly, a maze of chain link and graffiti he knew from undercover days. His phone, ditched. With his badge at booking, was gone, but he had a burner spot. A stash house 5 miles south, an old informant's crib off the grid. He hotwired a beat-up Honda, engine sputtering, and floored it, headlights off. The city's pulse fading as he hit the outskirts, a shack nestled in pines, windows dark. Inside he crashed on a musty couch, catching his breath, the Glock from his stash in hand, a lifeline reclaimed. He'd outsmarted the cell, turned Cutler's trap into a sprint, and now he'd plan, nail that cop from the shadows, his mission sharpening in the silence. Then sirens wailed, close, too close, slicing the night as red and blue flashed through the trees. A SWAT van screeching up, boots pounding dirt. Khalil dove low, peering out, heart slamming as armored figures fanned out, rifles glinting, a bullhorn. Blaring, "Brooks, you're surrounded, come out slow." Cutler's voice crackled behind it, smug. "Told 'em you're armed, dangerous, a flight risk." That cop's tip turning a safe house into a kill zone. Khalil cursed, gripping the clock, options shrinking as glass shattered, tear gas hissing in, smoke clawing his lungs. He fired a warning shot, high, buying seconds, then bolted for the back, wood splintering as bullets ripped through walls, a storm of lead chasing him. He stumbled into the yard, gas burning his eyes, and saw her, little Tamika, 8 years old, informant's niece playing late, caught in the chaos. A stray round clipped her leg, blood blooming on her pajamas as she screamed, collapsing in the dirt. Khalil froze, rage and guilt crashing in. Cutler's lie now a child's wound, and he knew they'd pin this on him too. The SWAT line tightened, flashlights slicing the dark as Khalil scooped Tamika up, her cries piercing the gunfire's roar, her weight light but heavy with consequence. He sprinted, pines whipping his face, bullets buzzing past, her blood soaking. His shirt as he dodged behind a shed, breath ragged, the Glock useless against this army. He pressed a hand to her leg. "Hold on, baby girl." Voice steady despite the panic clawing his chest, knowing every second counted. The sirens Dopplered, SWAT fanning wider, and he spotted a ditch 3 feet deep sliding in with her, mud caking them both as he tore his sleeve, tying it tight around her wound, her whimpers fading to gasps. Cutler's taunt echoed. That cop, orchestrating this from some cushy perch, turning a harassment rap into a death squad, and Khalil's jailbreak, his fleeting control, was ash now, a kid's life the cost. He peeked up, lights sweeping, and saw a gap, a trail to the road, 50 yards of open ground. He waited, counting breaths, then ran. Tamika clutched close, legs burning as shouts erupted. "There! Shoot her!" But no shots came, not yet, their rules holding them a heartbeat. He hit pavement, a gas station 2 miles off glowing faint, and pushed harder, lungs screaming, her head lolling against him. The clerk inside gaped as Khalil burst in. "Call an ambulance now!" laying Tamika on the counter, her blood slick, under fluorescent glare. Paramedics screeched up 6 minutes flat, whisking her off as cops swarmed, not SWAT, just locals. Hands off once they saw the badge he didn't have but claimed. He stood, panting, mud-streaked, watching the stretcher roll, knowing Cutler's radio tip had painted him a monster. This chaos his masterpiece. The clerk muttered, "Heard 'em say you shot her." And Khalil's fists balled, the lie already, spreading, his escape a noose tightening. He slipped out, fading into the night, a fugitive again, but alive. Tamika's face burned into his skull, a vow to make Cutler pay doubling with every step. If you're boiling at Cutler turning a kid's, blood into his weapon, drop #1 in the comments if you think Khalil's right to fight this dirty now. Hit that like button if you're stunned. A cop's grudge could unleash SWAT like that, and subscribe because this roller coaster's climbing higher. What's your call? Would you risk it all for justice after this? Comment #2 if you'd run to regroup, or #3 if you'd charge back swinging. Let's hear it. Now with Tamika down and Cutler's lie spreading, how's Khalil gonna dodge the feds when his own team might be hunting him next? Khalil Brooks stumbled through the gas station's backlot, Tamika's blood crusting on his shirt, the 90-degree Atlanta night pressing down as he hauled her frail frame toward salvation, her gasps faint against his chest. The hospital loomed, 5 miles north, a beacon past pines and sprawl, and he floored the stolen Honda, engine groaning, weaving through back roads, headlights off to dodge the SWAT tail still buzzing from the siege. Her leg, wrapped in his torn sleeve, oozed red, and he muttered, "Stay with me, kid," voice a lifeline as he screeched into the ER drop-off, tires smoking. He burst through the sliding doors, Tamika limp in his arms, shouting, "Gunshot, 8-year-old, move!" Nurses swarmed, a gurney rattling up, whisking her away as Khalil sank against the wall, mud-caked and panting, the sterile hum swallowing her cries. Cops rolled in, not SWAT, just beat officers, hands hovering near holsters, but he waved them off. "FBI, she's collateral, check the scene," banking on his name, still carrying weight. They backed down, radios crackling, and he slipped out, fading into the parking lot's shadows, the Glock heavy in his waistband, Tamika's face a ghost driving him forward. His burner buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "SWAT's off, tips say Cutler lied, kid's on you." And Khalil's gut twisted, hope flickering, anonymous voices from the chaos cutting through the cop's smear. He hoofed it 2 miles, to a motel, a roach trap off I-85, cash only, no questions, and crashed on a lumpy mattress, the TV flickering news. Fugitive agent saves child. He dialed Harris from a payphone, voice low. "It's me, Tamika's safe, Cutler's framing me, you see the tips?" Harris grunted. "Yeah, chatter's piling up, Monroe's listening, your reinstated remote, nail that bastard." Khalil exhaled, the FBI's leash loosening, his badge pulsing alive in his mind as he mapped the drug case's next hit, dealers tied to Cutler's orbit, a thread to pull. He'd saved her, turned the siege into a lifeline, and now he'd hunt from the dark, a ghost with a mission. Then the motel TV blared, breaking news cutting through the static. FBI fugitive Khalil Brooks, cop killer suspect. And his blood ran cold, the screen flashing hospital footage, him sprinting out with Tamika edited slick, her blood smeared like a trophy, his face frozen in a snarl that never happened. The anchor droned. Suspect fled after shooting child, nationwide manhunt underway, and Khalil's fist slammed the wall, plaster cracking, Cutler's voice echoing in his skull, that cop's tip to SWAT, now a hacked masterpiece, a lie broadcast, to millions. He grabbed the remote, volume up as the feed looped, X exploding with "What Khalil kills" trending, 1 million views in hours, bots screaming, "Execute him, black thug with a gun." His burner rang, Harris, voice tight. "Brooks, what the hell, this footage, it's everywhere, half the team's buying it." Khalil snapped, "It's fake, Cutler's cousin, check the logs." But Harris hesitated. "Monroe's split, some want you in, others want you down, I'm digging, stay low." The line cut, and Khalil stood, room spinning, his reinstatement a thread snapping under this tidal wave, his own unit fracturing, half hunting him, half clinging to his truth. He paced, 3 steps each way, the motel's mildew stink choking. Him as he pieced it, Cutler's jail cell no cage but a throne, that cop hacking cams or paying someone to, turning Tamika's rescue into his ruin. The Glock sat on the bed, a cold comfort, and he checked it clip full, knowing the feds, the cops, the country had his face now, a target painted by a racist with a badge. He slipped out, hood up, the night thick with humidity and dread, a diner, 2 blocks off, glowing faint, his next hideout to think, to strike. Sirens wailed distant, closing, and he ducked into an alley, pulse racing, the manhunt's net tightening, his team split a knife in his back. The diner's neon buzzed, a greasy spoon off the highway, and Khalil slid into a booth, cap low, the waitress barely glancing as she poured coffee, black and bitter matching his mood. He sipped, scolding his tongue, eyes scanning the lot, every headlight a threat as the TV above the counter looped the footage, his name a curse on every channel. He pulled the burner, texting Harris, "Hospital cams, trace 'em." But no. Reply came, the silence deafening, his unit's fracture a wall he couldn't climb. Cutler's play was genius, brutal, scaling the SWAT lie into a national noose, Tamika's blood his ink, and Khalil's save, his fight, twisted into murder. He pictured her in the ER, tubes and bandages, her aunt's tears, and swore she'd live, that he'd make this right, but the weight crushed him, a fugitive again, No badge, no team he could trust. The waitress muttered, "You that guy?" And he froze, then shook his head. Nah, just looked like him. Slipping a 5 and bolting before her squint deepened. Outside, the air hung heavy, 92 degrees, stars blotted by city glow, and he hoofed it, 3 miles to a flop house. He'd used undercover. A brick box with no windows, a ghost's den. He crashed there, the mattress sagging, replaying Harris's words. Some want you down, and wondered who'd flipped, who'd bought Cutler's lie over his blood. The drug case faded, a distant hum. This war personal now. Cutler's hate. A hydra growing heads. He checked the Glock again. The click loud in the dark and mapped his next move. Hit Cutler's cousin again. Find the hack's source. Flip this before the feds closed in. But as he lay there, the ceiling stain swirling, Tamika's cry echoed. A kid caught in a racist's game, and he knew the manhunt wasn't just cops. It was America, fed a lie they'd swallow whole. Khalil Brooks crouched in the flophouse's shadows, the 90-degree Atlanta night seeping through the brick. His Glock a cold anchor as the TV's muted glow looped his face. Cop killer suspect. A lie swallowing the city. His burner buzzed a text from an old informant. Meet me Decatur now, and he bolted, slipping through alleys. The 5-mile trek a gauntlet of headlights and sirens. Tamika's blood still a stain on his soul. He hit the rendezvous, a graffiti-scarred warehouse, and found Zara, a rogue hacker he'd sprung from a bust 2 years back, all sharp eyes and purple braids hunched over a laptop. Heard you're screwed, Brooks. I'm in. She cracked. The hospital cams in 10 minutes, fingers flying, tracing Cutler's hack to a dark web node tied to a hate group. White Dawn, a crew the FBI had flagged but never cracked. Khalil leaned in, the screen's light carving his jaw. Link. It to Cutler, hard proof. And Zara grinned. Already did, chat logs, payments, he's their poster boy. They uploaded it. A data bomb, Cutler's name in neon, pinging a local news tip line. And by dawn, Channel 5 blared. Officer Wade Cutler tied to extremists. Footage of his smirking mug next to swastika flags. X erupting with Jew Cutler exposed. 50,000 views in an hour. Khalil's chest loosened. Zara high-fiving him. Badge is toast, man. And he felt it. The manhunt cracking, his truth clawing free. Cutler's suspension teetering into a firing. They toasted with stale. Coffee? The warehouse's hum a rare calm, his fugitive status bending under this blow, a chance to flip the feds back his way. Then the door exploded inward, wood splintering, 5 ex-cops in tactical gear storming through. Cutler's goons, faces he'd seen at precinct bars, now fists and boots, no badges but pure hate. Khalil dove, Glock up, firing wild as Zara screamed. A round clipping his shoulder, blood blooming hot. They swarmed, steel-toed kicks slamming his ribs, a baton cracking his knee, the gun skittering across concrete as he swung, nails clawing flesh, but they were a tide, drowning him. One snarled, "Cutler says hi!" And a fist smashed his jaw, stars bursting, the warehouse spinning as they torched the place, flames licking walls. Zara yanked out, laptop gone, leaving Khalil bloody, half dead in the ash. He crawled, lungs, searing the fire's roar a beast at his back as he dragged himself from the wreckage, smoke curling black into the dawn, his shoulder a wet throb, ribs screaming with every breath. The goons were gone, Zara with them, their van's taillights a blur through the pines, and Khalil collapsed against a dumpster, 10 blocks from the inferno, the city waking to his leak, but not his ruin. He tore his shirt, binding the shoulder. Teeth gritted, blood slick under his fingers. Cutler's voice echoing Gewer, "Says hi." A promise kept from that courtroom's smirk. This ambush a fist crushing his win. The news still played on a pawn shop TV across the street. Cutler's ties. Rock precinct, but the badge hung on. The cops' juice deeper than Khalil guessed, these ex-cops his muscle, not just hate group pawns. He staggered up, limping 5 miles to a storm drain, a hideout from his cartel days. The stink of rot a balm to the fire's sting, and sank into the dark, replaying it. Zara's scream, the laptop's loss. His proof snatched as fast as he'd dropped it. He'd hit Cutler hard, the leak a blade to the cop's throat, but this was a guillotine swinging back, physical, raw, a beating that left him broken, the hacker gone, his edge stolen. The Glock was lost, his hands empty but for blood, and he punched the concrete, pain jolting, a vow to get her back, to turn this into Cutler's grave. Sirens wailed distant, the manhunt still live, and he wondered if the feds saw the leak, if Harris believed it, or if they'd chase him harder now, this fire his fault in their eyes. The drain's damp chilled him, 92 degrees outside, and he pictured Zara, sharp and fierce, now a pawn in Cutler's game, her fate a weight he couldn't shake. If you're furious, Cutler's crew turned Khalil's big win into a beatdown. Drop number 1 in the comments if you think he's got to hit back twice as hard now. Smash that like button if you're stunned a cop's grudge could burn a whole warehouse down, and subscribe because this fight's only getting bloodier. Picture yourself in Khalil's shoes, bleeding, betrayed. Would you keep swinging? Comment. Number 2. If you'd hunt Cutler solo, or number 3, if you'd call for backup. Let's see your gut. Now with Zara snatched and Khalil half dead, how's he going to claw out of this hole when Cutler's still got the upper hand? Khalil Brooks clawed his way from the storm drain's damp grip, the 92-degree Atlanta dawn baking the blood and ash into his skin, his shoulder a pulsing ache as he staggered upright, ribs groaning with every shallow breath. The warehouse, fire's echo lingered, a black plume curling miles back. Zara's scream a splinter in his skull, Cutler's goons leaving him for dead but not checking close enough. He spat red, wiped his mouth, and limped, 5 miles through back roads, pines, whispering cover as sirens faded. The manhunt's net wide, but not here, not yet. His hands shook, empty without the Glock, but his mind sharpened. 15 years of FBI grit stitching him together. A vow to get Zara, to bury Cutler, burning hotter than the flames he'd escaped. He hit a creek, knee-deep, washing the grime, the cold biting his wounds as he tore a strip from his pant leg, rebinding his shoulder, teeth clenched against the sting. A gas station flickered 2 miles off, payphone glinting, and he dialed a burner code, Zara's backup line, static crackling before her voice hissed, "Warehouse, East Point, they've got me, hurry." He hotwired a pickup, engine coughing, and floored it 10 miles south, the city's edge blurring past. A squat brick box rising from weeds, guards pacing its roof. He parked a quarter-mile out, stalking up, mud-caked and silent, spotting Zara through a grimy window, tied to a chair, laptop smashed beside her. 2 ex-cops loomed, Cutler's crew, and Khalil moved, a ghost in the haze, prying a loose vent, slipping inside, the stink of oil and sweat thick. He grabbed a wrench from a crate, crept up and cracked one thug's skull, the other spinning too late. Khalil's fist smashing his nose, blood spraying as he dropped. Zara gasped, "You're insane," as he cut her free, her wrists raw. Hands she bolted to a spare rig, fingers flying. Got Cutler's full rap sheet, assaults, bribes, all of it. They uploaded it, a torrent to the feds, News X everywhere. Officer Wade Cutler, career criminal, hitting 1 million views as sirens wailed, feds swarming Cutler's precinct 15 miles away, hauling him off in cuffs again, live on. Channel 5. Khalil exhaled, leaning against the warehouse wall, Zara beside him, the screen's glow a fragile win. Cutler's badge finally cracking under this weight, his hate group ties and dirty past a noose he couldn't dodge. They slipped out, the pickup rumbling back to the city 10 miles north, a safe spot in Little 5 Points, an attic above a bar, jazz drifting up as Khalil sank onto a cot, shoulder throbbing, ribs a dull roar, but alive, victorious. He'd risen from the ashes, got Zara back, flipped the ambush into Cutler's fall, and the manhunt's heat eased. Feds too busy with the cop to chase him now. Then a crack split the air, a bullet grazing his arm, fresh blood trickling as he dove. Zara yelping, glass shattering from the bar's skylight. He rolled, peering up, a sniper's scope glinting 3 rooftops over, a shadow moving fast. Gone, before he could blink. Khalil cursed, tying his arm with a rag, the sting sharp, Cutler's arrest a trigger, not an end. This hitman Judge Hargrove's play, that grey-haired crony's voice ringing from the courtroom. Not admissible. Now a death sentence. He dragged Zara down, "Stay low," and scanned the rooftops. The 94-degree heat a shroud as he pieced it, Hargrove walking free, pulling bigger strings. Cutler's fall just a spark to this fire. The attic creaked, Jazz below a mocking "Hum," and Khalil's pulse hammered, the wind souring fast as snipers crosshairs his new cage. The bar's noise faded as Khalil crouched, blood dripping from his arm, the rag soaking red. His shoulder's old wound screaming beside this new one, a map of pain tracing Cutler's war. He checked Zara, her eyes wide but steady. Hargroves. Got cash, hired muscle, he's not done. And Khalil nodded, the judge's Confederate tie pin flashing in his mind, a symbol of the system's rot, deeper than one cop's hate. They'd nailed Cutler, the rap sheet a sledgehammer, feds storming his precinct like ants on a corpse. But Hargrove's shadow loomed, untouchable. This hit a warning or a miss, either way a promise of more. Khalil tore a plank from the floor. Wedging the skylight shut, buying time as he rifled the attic. A rusty knife his only weapon now, the Glock long gone. He replayed the shot, clean, professional, not some hate group thug, but a pro. Hargrove's reach, scaling from bricks to bullets, a judge playing king while Cutler took the fall. The attic's heat choked him, sweat stinging his cuts, and he sank back. Zara hacking a burner laptop. Feds are eating it up. Cutler's done, but Hargrove's clean, no trace. Khalil's jaw tightened, the win hollow, his name half cleared, but hunted. The snipers miss a taunt, Hargrove's game bigger than he'd mapped. He'd risen, fought, freed Zara, dropped Cutler, but this bullet grazed more than flesh, it carved a line. The system's teeth bared, and he wondered how high it climbed. Who else wore that tie pin in spirit? The night settled. 93 degrees, the bar's jazz a faint pulse, and Khalil gripped the knife, a vow hardening, to cut this Hydra's next head, Hargrove's, before it cut his. Khalil Brooks limped from the attic, blood crusting his arm where the sniper's bullet grazed. The 94-degree Atlanta heat a furnace as he and Zara slipped through little 5 points, the bar's jazz fading behind them. His shoulder throbbed, ribs ached, but Cutler's arrest looped in his skull. Feds dragging that cop off, a win he'd clawed from the ashes, and he'd damn well make it stick. He hit a payphone, dialing Mrs. Jenkins. "Round up the block, we're marching. Cutler's down, let's keep him there," her voice crackling. "On it, son." By noon he stood on Auburn Avenue, heart of Black Atlanta, 3,000 strong, fists raised, signs scrawled, "Justice for Khalil." Cutler's a Klansman. The crowd's roar shaking the pavement 10 miles from downtown. Zara hacked a live stream, beaming it to X. Atlanta rises, hitting 1 million views. Khalil's voice booming. "We've got proof. He's done. Don't let 'em bury it." Sweat soaked his shirt, the sun a hammer. But he pushed, dodging. The sniper's ghost, knowing Hargrove's hitman was still out there, a shadow on this tide. Then a scream cut through, a kid spotting a glint, rooftop 500 yards off, and Khalil dove, tackling a teen as a shot rang, missing the crowd, scattering then surging, "Get him!" 10 men bolted, ex-Marines from the block pinning the sniper, a lean pro in black dragged down, zip-tied live on Zara's feed, BC Channel 5 crashed in. Hitman caught, Judge Hargrove linked, the crowd erupting. Khalil hailed a hero, his name clearing as Hargrove's face flashed pale and pinched, a Confederate tie pin glinting under studio lights. He stood tall, chest swelling, 3,000 voices chanting, "Khalil, Khalil!" A moment of triumph, the city his shield, Cutler's cuffs, a lock he'd forged. Then the tide flipped, dusk falling, 93 degrees, and Hargrove's voice crackled over loudspeakers, "Curfew 8 p.m. due to riots." A lie, this was no riot, but squad cars rolled up, riot gear gleaming, gas canisters hissing as batons swung, cracking skulls. Khalil's arm yanked back, the crowd choking. "On fumes, instigator Brooks!" shouted, pinning it on him. He fought, fists flying, but the cops swarmed, tear gas blinding, and he stumbled 5 miles from the precinct, watching Cutler's release hit the news. Technicality, evidence disputed. That cop grinning free. Again Hargrove's curfew, a steel trap crushing Khalil's win. The streets burned, gas clouds swirling as Khalil ducked into an alley, lungs raw. The crowd's cheers now screams, batons thudding flesh, his name a curse on police radios, Hargrove's. Play scaling the sniper to a citywide clampdown. Racism a fist-choking Atlanta. He coughed, eyes streaming, replaying the march. 3,000 souls his people shattered by this. Cutler's smirk back, a ghost unkillable. The judge's curfew a legal blade slicing his victory to ribbons. He limped, 10 blocks weaving. Blood and gas a bitter mix, finding Zara at a corner, her braids wild. They flipped it, Khalil, you're the villain again. Her voice cracking, the live stream cut, X now raging. Brooks riots, trending, a lie swallowing his truth. Hargrove's face loomed in his mind. That gavel, that tie pin, a kingpin untouched. Cutler his pawn, this chaos his crown, and Khalil's protest, his stand, twisted into a noose. He sank against a dumpster, ribs howling, the city's pulse. A war drum, knowing the march had shamed Hargrove, but this curfew, this release was checkmate. The system's teeth bared, deeper than one cop, a machine grinding him down. Sirens wailed closing, and he stood, fists clenched, vowing to flip this, to claw back. But the weight hit, 3,000 scattered, Cutler free, Hargrove's shadow vast. And he wondered how many strings that judge pulled, how high this climbed. If you're seething at Hargrove, turning Khalil's hero moment into a citywide beatdown. Drop number 1 in the comments if you think the system's rigged to protect scum like Cutler. Hit that like button if you're stunned, a peaceful march. God gas this fast and subscribe because this war is far from over. Imagine your voice drowned by lies like that. Would you keep shouting? Comment number 2 if you'd rally again, or number 3 if you'd go underground. Let's hear your fire. Now, with Cutler loose and Atlanta choking, what's Khalil's next play when the judge holds all the cards? Khalil Brooks slipped through Atlanta's shadows, the 93-degree night a cloak as tear gas lingered in his lungs, the curfew's weight pressing the city silent, save for distant sirens wailing 10 miles off. Cutler's release burned. In his skull, Hargrove's gavel a whip cracking his march to pieces, but he moved, ribs aching, arm bandaged from the sniper's graze, a ghost with a mission. He hit a pawn shop, cash from a stash buying bugs, tiny mics he'd used on cartels, now aimed at Cutler's throat, that cop free but not safe. The precinct loomed 15 miles west, a squat fortress under flickering sodium lights, and Khalil scaled a back fence, mud-caked boots, silent, dodging cams he'd mapped in better days. He slipped through a loading dock, the stink of bleach, and oil thick, and crept to Cutler's locker, planting a bug in the vent, another in the squad room's lamp, wiring live to a burner app Zara had rigged. He held his breath, sweat-stinging cuts, and slunk out 10 minutes flat, the curfew's patrol passing a block away as he faded into an alley, 5 miles to a flop house, a brick box with no windows. The app buzzed, voices crackling, Cutler's, snarl cutting through. Church on MLK, Sunday bomb it, pin it on Brooks. A plan so vile Khalil's fist clenched, the cop plotting from a desk, free on Hargrove's dime. He texted Zara, "Got him, church hit, send it," and she fired it up. Audio leaking to Channel 5 ex-feds. Cutler plans terror attack. 1 million views in hours, the precinct swarming again. Cutler hauled off mid-shift, cuffs snapping, his badge a memory now. Khalil sank onto the flophouse cot, relief washing over him. A win carved from betrayal, the city's black heart spared. Hargrove's pawn toppled again. Then the burner rang, Zara's voice tight. "Khalil, I'm sorry." And his gut dropped. Static buzzing as she cut off. A flood of sirens erupting outside, boots pounding, radios barking. "Brooks, East Point now!" He bolted upright, peering through a crack. Squad cars circling, 10-15 a net across Georgia. His location a beacon. Zara's sellout to Hargrove's cash, a knife in his spine. He grabbed the knife from the attic stash, the only weapon, left and kicked the back door, sprinting as lights flared, tires screeching, every cop in the state on his tail. Her betrayal a flood, drowning his win. He dove into a ravine 3 miles south, thorns tearing his skin, the church plot exposed, but Cutler's laugh echoing. Pin it on Brooks. A decoy, the real bomb still live, ticking somewhere. Zara's hack, now Hargrove's map to crush him. He slid into a culvert, mud swallowing his boots, breath ragged as he pieced it. Zara's purple braids, her grin, traded for a payout. The judge's shadow vast. Cutler's arrest a feint to flush him out. The leak had worked. Feds on Cutler. But this was checkmate. His hideout burned, every badge in Georgia hunting him, the bomber ghost he couldn't find. He crawled 10 yards, 20, the culvert's stinker shield as choppers thumped overhead. Blades slicing the 92-degree dark, Hargrove's voice from the courtroom ringing, not admissible. Now a death knell, Zara's flipped the gavel's echo. The ravine stretched, a lifeline 5 miles from the church, and Khalil hauled himself up, knife gripped. The manhunt's roar a tide he couldn't outrun, Zara's "I'm sorry" a wound deeper than the sniper's graze, than Cutler's boots. He'd trusted her, freed her, built this win with her, and she'd sold him. Hargrove's cash-turning loyalty to ash, his location a flare to every cop from Atlanta to Savannah. The bugs had nailed Cutler, the church safe for now, but the decoy chilled him. A real blast lurking, his name the fuse, and he wondered where, when, how many would bleed if he didn't find it. He hit a creek, wading knee-deep, washing blood and mud, the cold a jolt to his haze, replaying Cutler's snarl. Sunday. 2 days off. Time he didn't have with Georgia's law on his heels. The feds might buy the leak. Harris might fight. For him. But Zara's betrayal split his world. Trust a luxury he couldn't afford. The manhunt scale dwarfing the SWAT siege. Hargrove's power a web he couldn't cut. He climbed out dripping. A gas station glowing 3 miles east. A payphone his next shot, but the sky buzzed. Drones now, Hargrove's reach-buying tech, not just goons. And Khalil ducked under oaks, the knife a frail shield, vowing to find. The bomb, to turn Zara's knife back on them. The night pressed 91 degrees, the city a cage, and he moved. A fugitive again, Cutler cuffed but laughing, Hargrove's shadow vast, the bomb ticking, a clock he couldn't see. Khalil Brooks sprinted through the ravine's muck, the 91-degree Atlanta night a swamp as drones hummed overhead, their buzz a relentless hunter 5 miles from the church on MLK Drive, Cutler's bomb a spectre ticking in his skull. Zara's betrayal clawed his gut, her sellout to Hargrove lighting up Georgia's cops. But he pushed, knife-gripped, ribs screaming from old bruises, the statewide manhunt a net he'd slipped for now. The church loomed 10 miles west, a brick sanctuary glowing under sodium lamps. Sunday dawn breaking, 90 degrees already, parishioners filing in, hymns drifting as he hit the lot, mud-caked and wild-eyed. Cutler's snarl echoed, "Bomb." Pin it on Brooks. And Khalil knew the decoy was a lie, the real blast here now, his name the fuse. He slipped through a side door, sweat stinging cuts, scanning pews, 300 souls oblivious, kids in Sunday best, elders swaying, and spotted it, a duffel under the pulpit, wires peaking, a crude rig but live ticking down. He dove, 15 years of FBI muscle memory kicking in, prying it open, red and blue strands tangled, a digital clock glaring. 2 minutes left, his knife sliced, hands steady despite the drones outside, the choppers closing, and he yanked the blue wire, a guess, a prayer, the clock freezing at 10 seconds, a hiss fading as the crowd sang on unaware. He slumped, breath ragged, then stood, hauling the bag out back, dumping it in a dumpster, evidence intact, texting Harris. "Church safe, bomb real, Cutler's done." The feds rolling in silent, 5 miles off, Cutler hauled from his cell. Again, this time for keeps. Parishioners cheering Khalil as news vans screeched up, "Hero saves hundreds." The pastor clapped his shoulder. "God sent you, son." And Khalil nodded, chest tight. The winner pulse against Hargrove's shadow. Cutler's permanent lockup a chain he'd forged. The bomb's silence a shield for these lives. His people. He stepped out, 92 degrees. The crowd swelling, 300 voices lifting him. Feds cuffing Cutler live on Channel 5, terror plot foiled, his badge dust now, Hargrove's technicality crushed. Then tires squealed, 10 pickups roaring in. White Dawn, Cutler's hate group, 20 strong, AR-15s glinting, masks off screaming, "Free Wade or they die." They stormed the church, glass shattering, parishioners shrieking as barrels pressed. Skulls Khalil dragged inside, a rifle butt cracking his jaw, blood flooding his mouth. The leader, a hulking skinhead, snarled, "You're ours, Brooks, Hargrove says hi," and zip-tied him, 300 hostages trembling, kids sobbing, the sanctuary a slaughterhouse now. Khalil's eyes darted, counting guns, exits, His knife. Gone, feds frozen outside, negotiators on bullhorns. Release them! The skinhead grinned. Cutler walks, or we paint this place red. And Khalil knew Hargrove's hitman was child's play. This was the judge's endgame. Cutler's. Crew a fist to crush his win. Then the TV flared. Hargrove's face live from a courthouse steps. Brooks orchestrated this, a radical I warned of riots, framing him as the brain, the bomb a lie, this siege his script, a broadcast to millions, X erupting. Brooks' terror. Trending, the judge's voice, a gavel slamming Khalil's soul. The church's air thickened. 93 degrees, sweat and fear mingling as Khalil knelt. Zip ties cutting wrists, the skinhead's boot on his neck, rifles circling 300. Lives his save twisted into this nightmare. Hargrove's lion noose tightening. He replayed the bomb, 10 seconds, his hands steady. The crowd's cheers, now screams. Cutler's lockup a flicker before this storm. The hate group's rage a tide he couldn't stem. Feds massed outside, 500 yards, snipers glinting. But Hargrove's broadcast paralyzed them. Radical, a word weaponizing doubt. His name a curse again, the pastor's eyes on him. Questioning now, faith shaken. The skinhead barked, 1 hour, Cutler free, or we start shooting. And Khalil's jaw throbbed, blood dripping, vowing to break this, to turn Hargrove's frame into his ammo. But the weight hit, 300 souls, his win a trap. Cutler's. Laugh from a cell echoing, the bomb a decoy for this. A massacre pinned on him. He tested the ties, wrists raw, scanning for a play, a thug's loose grip, a window, anything, as the clock ticked. Not digital now, but human, lives he'd saved. Now bargaining chips, Hargrove's shadow vast, the system's teeth bared, deeper than he'd cut. Khalil Brooks knelt in the church's stifling sanctuary, the 93-degree Atlanta heat, soaking his blood-streaked shirt, zip ties biting his wrists as White Dawn's rifles circled 300 hostages, their leader's boot grinding. His neck, Cutler's hate group turning his bomb save into a slaughterhouse. The skinhead barked, 1 hour, Cutler free, or they die. But Khalil's eyes flicked, counting 5 thugs near, 1 sloppy rifle loose, a crack in their wall. He twisted, ribs screaming, and lunged, head slamming the thug's jaw, teeth crunching as he snatched the AR-15, firing low, 2 rounds clipping knees. Chaos erupting, parishioners diving, screams piercing the hymn's echo. He rolled, cutting ties on a pew's edge, freeing his hands and sprayed cover fire. Move, back door! Driving half the crowd out, 150 stumbling, kids scooped up, elders hobbling as feds outside shouted, hold fire! The E. Skinhead roared, swinging, but Khalil ducked, barrel smashing the man's nose, blood gushing. And he zip-tied him. 3 down, 2 pinned by pews, rifles skittering. He grabbed the bullhorn, voice raw. Cutler stays locked, life sentences. Or I drop 'em all. Feds relaying, 5 minutes ticking, the pastor nodding. Do it, son, trust reborn. The deal landed. Cutler's cell sealed permanent, no parole. And feds stormed in, 10 miles from HQ, battering rams crashing. White Dawn cuffed. 300 safe. Hargrove's feed cut mid-lie. A Brooks saves trending. Khalil staggering. Out hero again, hugging Tamika's aunt, her niece alive in the ER. A win carved from hell. The church steps glowed, 94 degrees. Feds clapping his back. Good work, Brooks. The crowd cheering, 150 voices lifting him. Cutler's lockup a steel cage. Hargrove's frame shattered. The sniper's boss humbled live. Khalil exhaled, tasting triumph. Tamika's aunt sobbing, your family now. Her kid's survival his shield. The crisis crushed, his name clearing as news vans swarmed. FBI vet ends siege. He sank onto a curb, blood drying, ribs. A dull roar. The feds trust a bomb. Hargrove's broadcast a ghost fading, 300 lives his proof. Cutler's hate group dust. Then a whine split the sky, a drone black and sleek diving from 500 feet. A flash and the church exploded, bricks raining, screams swallowed by fire, a blast dwarfing the bomb he'd stopped. Khalil dove, asphalt biting, ears ringing. As dust choked the air, feds scattering, and he saw her, Tamika's cousin, 6 years old, limp in the rubble, blood pooling, her aunt's wail a knife in his gut. He crawled, cradling her, too late. Her pulse gone, Cutler's laugh echoing from a cell. Militia pal, a favor called in, this strike his final blow, the church a pyre, his win ash, the kid's blood on his hands. The lot burned, 95 degrees, smoke curling black as Khalil knelt, the girl's body light but crushing, feds shouting, "Clear the area!" But he couldn't move, Tamika's aunt clawing the ground. "Not her, not her!" The drone's whine, a taunt fading. Cutler's militia ally, a shadow he hadn't cut. The bomb he'd defused was a feint. This, the real hit. Hargrove's frame, a distraction. Cutler's hate a hydra. This strike scaling the siege to annihilation, racism a missile tearing his world. He stood, staggering, dust-coating blood replaying the deal. Cutler locked, the feds in, 300 saved, now this. A child dead, his shield cracked, the crowd's cheers a memory under her silence. Sirens wailed, 5 miles off, choppers. Landing, but the church smouldered. A tomb, Hargrove's shadow vast. Cutler's reach endless, this drone a claw ripping his soul. He'd fought, freed, won. But this loss, this girl, broke him. Her face burned in his skull. A vow to end this war doubling as he limped away, the feds' trust hollow, the system's teeth bared, deeper than he'd cut. Tamika's blood a twin to this, his hands stained forever. Khalil Brooks staggered from the church's smouldering ruins. The 95-degree Atlanta heat, a furnace baking the blood and dust into his skin, Tamika's cousin's lifeless body, a weight he'd set down but couldn't unfeel. Her aunt's. Wails clawing his ears as feds swarmed 5 miles from the epicenter, their shouts drowned by the ringing in his skull. The drone strike's crater gaped, bricks jagged like teeth, 300 saved turned to ash with one child's death. Cutler's militia pal a phantom he'd missed, this blow shattering his win, his shield, his soul. He limped, ribs a jagged. Tyke, shoulder oozing from the sniper's graze. Arm crusted where the bullet had kissed, but he moved. 15 years of FBI steel forging his spine, a vow to end this burning hotter than the flames licking the wreckage. Sirens wailed, choppers thumping. But he slipped past, a ghost in the chaos. 10 blocks to a pawn shop, cash from a stash buying a burner phone, his hands trembling as he dialed Zara's old line. No answer. Her betrayal a scar. But he needed tech, needed to flip this. He hit a bar 5 miles east, jazz humming low, and found Jamal. A wiry ex-con he'd busted, then flipped, now a barback with a laptop sideline. "Brooks, you're a mess, what's up?" Khalil sank into a booth, voice low. Drone hit the church, kids dead, Cutler's militia, I need you in. Jamal's eyes widened. That's war, man, but he cracked the rig, fingers flying. Give me something to trace. Khalil replayed it, the skinhead snarl. Cutler says hi. The drone's whine, a militia favor called from a cell and whispered, White Dawn's got a comms thread. Dark web. Find the pilot. Jamal dug, 10 minutes stretching to 20. The bar's 92-degree hummer cocoon as X flared on the screen. And church attack trending. Hargrove's frame fading under. Brooks saved us. But Tamika's cousin's face haunted him. 6 years old, gone, his hands stained. Red again. Jamal hissed, Got it, encrypted chat, Eagle brags, church down Brooks next. IP's a militia hub, Macon, 50 miles south. Khalil leaned in, link it to Cutler, hard, and Jamal pulled logs. Here, cell ping, Cutler. To Eagle, 3 days back. Make it big. They hacked the feed, Eagle's boast live to X. Militia vet claims church strike. A grainy vid of a buzz-cut bruiser gloating, for Wade, synced to Cutler's rap sheet, the bomb plot. The siege, a torrent hitting 5 million views, news crashing in, Cutler's network exposed. Khalil's chest tightened, Jamal grinning. Feds'll eat this. And they did. Choppers lifting from HQ, 15 miles west, raiding Macon, Eagle cuffed live, White Dawn's empire imploding, Hargrove fleeing his bench, a grey ghost vanishing. As warrants flew, the system's teeth cracking under this blow. Khalil stood, barstool creaking, the jazz a faint pulse as he limped out, 91 degrees, the city's edge glowing, feds clapping his back via burner texts. Brooks, you're... Gold come in. His name a battered legend, Cutler's cage sealed. Hargrove's shadow shrinking, the militia's spine snapped. He hit Auburn Avenue, 10 miles from the church, 3,000 from the march chanting his name, now silent. Tamika's aunt's sobs a weight he carried, her cousin's blood a vow he'd kept. This leak his sword, cutting deeper than the bomb he'd stopped. He sank onto a stoop, Ribs a dull roar, shoulder a wet throb, replaying it. The cuffs on Cutler, the drone's flash, eagle's grin, 5 million eyes on his truth, a win forged from ash. But hollow, the girl's face a ghost he couldn't bury. His burner buzzed. Harris, Monroe's reinstating you, full drug case yours. And Khalil nodded to the dark. The feds trust a lifeline. Hargrove's flight a crack in the wall, Cutler's empire dust. But the cost, her cost, broke him. Still, he stood limping north, 5 miles to a motel, a roach trap off I-85, crashing on a lumpy bed, the TV flickering, FBI hero dismantles terror cell. His face scarred but fierce, a legend born from hell, the city's pulse steadying. 300 saved, 1 lost, his fight a flame that wouldn't die. Then the burner pinged a text, no number, "You're next." And his blood froze, a shadow moving outside, 10 feet off, a glint of steel, a smile, a new racist titan rising from Cutler's ashes, gun cocked, watching. The motel's hum stilled, 90 degrees, the text's chill cutting deeper than the heat as Khalil rolled off the cot, knife from the bar in hand, peering through blinds, the shadow gone, but the threat alive, a whisper louder than the drones. Roar. He replayed it. Eagles fall, Cutler's cell, Hargrove's vanish, 5 million views tearing their web. But this, "You're next," a thread uncut, a Hydra's head he hadn't seen, the system's rot vast, not dead. He checked the knife, blade dull but sharp enough, and paced, 3 steps each way, the room a cage, his win a spark, not a fire. Tamika's cousin's blood a fuel driving him, this new foe a ghost he'd hunt. The TV looped. Brooks triumphs. But he muted it. The praise hollow, her face 6 years old, a weight heavier than Cutler's cuffs, than Hargrove's gavel, than the drone's blast. He sank back, replaying the war, the stop, Cutler's spit. Bricks, videos, jail, SWAT, snipers, riots, bombs, hostages, drones. 15 years of grit against a machine that bent but didn't break. This text, a crack widening, a war eternal. He texted Harris, "New player, watch my back." But no reply came. The feds trust a thread now. The motel's walls closing, the shadows smile a promise. Racism a tide he'd stemmed, but not stopped. He stood, knife gripped, vowing to find this titan, to cut its throat. But the night pressed, 90 degrees, Atlanta a battlefield still, his legend a flicker, the girl's death a chain. This text, a door to hell unopened. Khalil slipped out. Hood up. The motel's neon buzzing as he hit the street, 5 miles from HQ, 10 from the church, the city's scars his map. Every corner a memory of blood. His blood. Theirs. Hers. He moved a limp in his stride. Ribs a jagged ache, shoulder a slow bleed but alive. A battered titan himself, Cutler's empire ash. Hargrove's flight a win. The militia's fall a blow. 5 million voices his army. But this shadow. This text. A new war dawning, its face hidden, its hate vast. He hit a payphone, dialing Jamal. "Dig deeper. You're next. Who's left?" Jamal's voice crackled. "On it, man, this ain't over." And Khalil hung up, the line a lifeline. The shadow a spectre he'd chase. Tamika's cousin's ghost a spur. Her death a fire he'd wield. The night stretched, 90 degrees, stars blotted by smog, and he walked, knife-pocketed, replaying it all. The stop 2 minutes flipped to this. Cutler's cuffs a start. This text an end unended. The system's rot a hydra. Head sprouting. His fight eternal. He'd won, shattered them, but lost her. Lost peace, this new foe a mirror. Racism's pulse beating. A war he'd wage. Battered, bloody, unbroken. Until the last head fell. Or his did.